Thanks a lot. So, hi, how are you guys? It's kind of always a bit weird just talking to my screen, and I know there's some guys over there. For that reason, please give me feedback if you cannot hear me in a proper way, or if you have any problems or questions or whatever, because I used to do it in a more interactive way. That means that it's kind of weird for me always just talking to an audience without any response. So I'm really, really happy if you just could give me just like, oh, just interact with me. Yeah, let's try that because it really helps me to feel a bit more comfortable. And I hope you can see the screen in a pretty good way and also the whole presentation. Okay, so I can, perfect. So I'm going to start. First of all, that's me. I just want to give you a short introduction. My name is Claudia Aryus. I used to work for the Volkswagen company for a couple of years. I started pretty early and I just like kind of did my final exam with Volkswagen in the corporate communication department. Then I had some other jobs in different German companies, and I came back in 2013 to Volkswagen, and then a couple of years later I've joined Audi. And first I started with the corporate communication marketing background, but then I kind of switched my profession and I took over the role as, let's say, an agile facilitator, agile coach, because I really think that you need to understand like the basic agile things before you can really start to transform anything. Yeah. And the first picture you can see over there, that was in the leadership round of the Audi IT team. And what we did, we decided to transform the IT department of Audi. And it was at that point not clear how to do so, but it was, as always, I mean, I hope you're pretty involved in the whole agile topic, and I think you know it, iterative. And that means this is where we started in like super classic. We started with a lot of PowerPoints. And then the second picture you see over there, that was in Spain, to be precise, it was in Madrid. I've been there for 3 years, started in 2019, just before the crisis, the Corona crisis. And the task there was, or like the mission, it was more like a mission to create an agile center of excellence with a couple of people. And it was like born within the IT department, but the idea was really to push the agile mission, like the transformation idea, into the brand of Cobra and also SEAT, of course. And yeah, and that's really influenced my idea of how to transform in the corporate world, because I mean, I'm kind of part of the IT department, but I'm really in a non-IT. And for that reason, I kind of building bridges between two different worlds, like the, let's say, normal corporate world, but also the IT guys, and pretty interesting, but also super intense. And I mean, and that's just like my let's say professional life, but I also have like a lot of things in my private life. I mean, I'm not a Bavarian girl. I'm coming from the other part of Germany, let's say, but I really love Weißwurst and Brezeln since I've joined the Audi brand, because as you probably know, it's based in Ingolstadt, in the middle, in the center of Bavaria. And it's quite interesting also from the cultural aspect to live over there, because the culture is just different. Yeah. And I also love to travel, not only within Germany, for example, just climbing hills, but I also love to travel the world. I have a Beetle, and like an old timer, like a classic car. And I'm super happy because right now it's getting kind of restorated, and I hope I can drive the car as soon as the weather's getting better here in Ingolstadt. Then I also love food and all kinds of food. And one of my, like, let's say like my very most important hobbies is I love surfing, but the important part for me is that I'm not a short boarder, I'm a long boarder. And for that reason, I really love to travel the world with my surfboard and just try to find the best wave. So that's a bit about me, private side. And now, what about you? Because I have really no clue who are you. I would be super happy if one or two of you just could introduce yourself, just to get an idea what you're doing, what is your passion, why you're in Wolfsburg right now, just to get a bit of more information about who I'm talking right now. So if you could pass the mic, whoever wants to talk, it would help me a lot, just to understand to whom I'm talking. And also, I would like to invite also the guys who are just joining via Zoom.
Hello. I'm Abir. Okay, my full name is Muhammad Abir Abbas. I'm coming from a really far South Asia. It's a country called Bangladesh. And I'm a mechanical engineer already, but I really love software and computers from my early childhood. So I'm just right now following my passion in coding. That's why I joined 42 Wolfsburg.
Oh, well, since when are you part of the Wolfsburg school?
From last year, we had our PC in March. Then I joined from April 25th. It's been more than 8 months. It's gonna be a year soon. So yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks you. Anyone else who wants to join their story?
Hello, my name is Muhammad. I'm from Egypt. I've been here in Germany for a while. I have a couple of backgrounds. Started as a lawyer, then flight attendant, then I had a passion for computer science, and then I decided to pursue that in Germany. So I started with the university as a traditional way of studying. Didn't find it appealing, found it like outdated, cut from the job market. So, and then I stumbled on 42 from Instagram, and then I was like, too good to be true, but let's give it a try. And the rest is history since the beginning of last year, and I've been here. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So welcome to Wolfsburg.
Thank you.
Anyone else, maybe also one of within the Zoom meeting like me?
Yes, hello. Hi. My name is Bonin, and I'm French, and I previously, before joining 42 Wolfsburg, I was a mechanical engineer working in engines. So I thought I had to change my career to IT and software engineering, and that's why I came to Wolfsburg, because Wolfsburg is one of the biggest center of automotive in Germany. So it was the only right place for me to learn software engineering.
Wow, cool, super international. Anyone else who wants to just jump in?
Okay, so my name is Tatiana. I'm from Spain. And well, I'm one of the new guys here. Basically, I started my kickoff in December. And well, why I'm here? A few years ago, I was working as a software tester for Huawei, which, that was like my first touch in the world of IT. And I really like it. And I kind of wanted to dive into it. And yeah, that's why I'm here.
Super cool. And it's a female voice. I love that. Cool, cool. So, and I have just like another question for you, yeah? Do you have any expectations for that short interaction or keynote so that I might even can adapt a bit to your expectations regarding that what I'm going to share with you?
Sorry, could you repeat again?
Yeah, do you have any expectations from the keynote and the interaction which is taking place right now? I mean, you just read the title, I think, and do you have anything what you kind of expect? So I might can adapt and give you even answers to your questions.
Well, right now I don't have any expectation. I just want to join and see how it's going.
Cool. Anyone else?
I'm very intrigued to know how the Agile system works in the big corporation, how they implement teamwork, how they schedule tasks, how is the meeting between the team frequently happening, and if we go a little bit deeper and see like if in technical terms like technical debt and stuff like that, how it's handled in the Agile system. So maybe, yeah.
So I probably have to disappoint you. That's what I can directly say. I mean, I can explain you a bit, of course, if you like, how we do it on the real operational level. But this kind of keynote I prepared is more on the high fly level. But I can just invite you if you like to contact me via LinkedIn, and I give you like in deep dive regarding how we use or how I've learned how we adapt to the Agile system within the corporate world. So that's like directly said. So you're more than welcome to contact me on LinkedIn. Then we even can deep dive in the really operational level.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Then just another question for you. Do you have any experiences working in the corporate world? And if yes, what was your kind of your, let's say, lowlights?
Yes, I have been. Yes. Hi. Yes, I worked in corporate companies before, not in IT, but more in mechanical engineering. So the first company was Peugeot. So it was a very big company, not as big as Volkswagen Group, but big enough. And I would say the low highlights would be like a lot of standard processes, very siloed organizations at times. And then the second company I worked for was also a big company, but much smaller. It was Jaguar Land Rover. And it was much more agile. But the lowlights was sometimes there was not so much standard. So it's kind of do the best you can with what you have. So yeah, I think I have seen the worst, well, not the worst, but the most difficult of both organizations.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else who wants to share their corporate experiences? Okay, maybe you didn't have that many experiences yet. So, I mean, now we are right now in the Wolfsburg 42 school. And I mean, as you know, it's kind of supported by the Volkswagen company, and the Volkswagen company is just like a huge corporate. So of course, there are like a lot of positive things, but of course, there are also some lowlights, especially when it comes to agility and agile, because it's just like a different operating model. And what we try to do is to kind of, or like people like me in the company, really try to building bridges and to help the company just to be more agile, to act faster, yeah, to really be more very value oriented and customer centric. But the question is, why? Why at all? Yeah, I mean, because Volkswagen is like let's say a couple of years old, and I mean, we are building not only Volkswagen as a brand, but also Audi and Skoda. We are building just like really, really cool cars. So why should we change? Yeah, and first of all, I would like to introduce this kind of box because, I mean, it looks like super easy and without, I mean, not really like dangerous or whatever, but it's really a problem because in a company like Volkswagen right now at the status quo, we used to explain everything and to create everything in a box, especially on the organizational level, because whenever we are creating a new project, whenever we are creating a new department, whenever we are creating even a new brand, the only, or like how we translate the flow, the organizational flow, it's always we are using boxes. I mean, one box is not that problem, yeah, but as what you said, then if you have like a lot of them, then you're starting to create problems at the end. I mean, that's like the classical approach of a corporate company. You have the hierarchy, you have the organigram, and the information flows always top down, but not bottom up, for example. And what you can see clearly, you're creating a lot of complexity and a lot of silos. This is what you said. And there's less communication in between these silos because people are just focused in their box and creating their own little ecosystem within the box without any, or like just like not that much interaction in between. And it also creates kind of behavior because if you own a box as a manager, for example, you really want to keep your status quo. Yeah, you're really creating or trying to let this box grow or even creating more boxes. That's just superhuman because you've learned to survive in this kind of system. And it's not like I'm not kind of trying to say if it's good or bad. It's just a fact. Yeah, when you're living in this kind of system, you've learned to create your own world in this kind of boxes and without any communication in between and really creating silos in that way. And as you can see here, that's like a classical approach, how the decision ways are kind of running in this box. You have the management, which used to be in the top of the box, on the boxes, and then you have the functional silos where the operational level is running. And as you can see, you have all the strategic decision on the top, and then the reporting is working upside down, no, another way, bottom up. And that's kind of really of a traditional organization, and it gives you a lot of stability and efficiency because we just used to live in that kind of system. But as you probably also know, that's not state of the art anymore, because the outer world, our ecosystem is changing a lot, and we have to adapt, we have to be faster, we have to be more agile, we have to really take care of our operating system so that we just can survive, because as a company like Volkswagen, it's super, super hard to adapt to the fast changing environment at the end. And a lot of really, really like brains, like super intelligent people, and also like a lot of, let's say, consultants are giving the advice, let's do it like the startups and using a more agile way and thinking, let's say, out of the box, creating this kind of collaboration teams, talking about end-to-end value, really focusing on delivery teams, and having the customer in the center and the product in the center. And this is like, you probably know that's kind of called of an agile organization. And we as a corporate think that's the solution. Yeah, we have to change our operating model into this more agile way. And the idea of a company is always, just one thing, I do not know if you know GPT, because regarding that, let's say, transformation from a classical approach to a more agile approach, I've asked ChatGPT yesterday, please explain agile transformation for me. And it was pretty interesting what he or she, whatever, it's the machine, answered. I mean, I just give you a minute to read it. What you can, I mean, they're like, let's say, like two sides. Yeah, the one side is really focusing on changing the system, the processes, and the structure. And on the other side, we are talking about culture. And what we are doing as a company like Volkswagen, we are starting to focus on the processes and the structure. That's, I just call it the corporate approach. Yeah, what does it mean? At the end, we are asking a lot of people to create super intelligent PowerPoints, just like really, really creating lots of different PowerPoints where we are trying to explain the status quo and how we want to move into the new status of agility. The problems on that topic is that we are just like creating a lot of theory, but do not really understand how to kind of transfer it in the operational level. For that reason, what we are starting then as a company is to look around us and trying to identify all the different tools and methodologies, how we can change from a corporate or more like corporate static way into a more agile way. As you can see here, you have like more than 40 agile methods. And for sure, every one of them I've at least heard in some context when I was talking to different teams and asking them where they are in their agile journey. And it's so funny because a lot of them, they are just using the different terms as, let's say, like a buzzword, but have really no clue what is behind. Yeah. Then the next step is what we are doing as a corporate company. We are trying to identify models that work somewhere else in the company. And one of the highlighted models we've already learned is the Spotify approach. But the problem is that you cannot compare the business model of Spotify with the Volkswagen world. But what we are trying to do is, of course, to copy paste it somehow. Yeah. And for that reason, reason and trying to learn how they call the different tribes and chapters and whatever, and trying to copy them into our environment. But as you can imagine, it's like kind of a fail, because I mean, that's like a completely different approach, and we're trying to copy paste it. At least this is my experience what I had. And last but not least, that's kind of a trend. It's the whole SAFE approach. I mean, as you probably know, how Gustav, she said SAFE is our operating model, and I completely agree. But when you see it from the first moment on, it doesn't matter if you're in the software environment or if you're just working in the finance department, for example, when you see that complex picture and then someone is saying, okay, let's implement it, then it's kind of overwhelming, yeah? Because I mean, how to do it, I mean, a lot of people just do not have any clue where to start. And that's kind of, this kind of, let's say, in the company, when you're going to the, when you're just starting to interact with the teams on that level, they completely lost. And the problem what happened then is that they are just, when they're hearing SAFE, they completely blocked. And then that's kind of a, let's say, one-way street, or like a dead end within the teams, because then you have no really idea how to move on and how to create this open environment that you can start to try and more like different operating model. But truly, this is what I've kind of learned within the last Audi and also SEAT experiences. And that's really like crazy when you can see that this kind of corporate approach is trying to implement agility within the corporate world. Because a lot, like many times, just when you're trying to change something, you just forget it's a transformation. The transformation is always related to culture and mindset. And that's what I've kind of learned within the last 3 or 4 years. That of course, there's like a lot of information regarding SAFE, regarding Scrum, regarding Kanban, regarding Agile Transformation. But what we do not, or what we have to keep in our minds, is definitely that everything is related to the people who have to transform, and also for that reason, the culture. Just like a short introduction, at least from my experience, yeah. What is culture? At the end, it's really about values and behavior that is shared by a group of people. And in my, let's say, learnings is when you're starting to create new teams, which should be work in a more agile way, that's like the first thing you should keep in mind. That first you have to understand the culture of people, especially when you're working abroad like me in Spain, and then to understand and to align this culture also with the company culture you're already working within. And here's also a question into the audience. What do you think about corporate culture, or like culture within your working environment? What are your experiences there on that end? Okay, no experiences over there.
I could talk, but I didn't have a positive culture experience.
But that's super good, so tell us.
So I used to work in Emirates Airline. So it's a Emirates Group. It's a big company in Dubai, almost own everything there. So when I worked there, there was kind of in the culture encouraged that you report anything that you see, even your colleagues, just for the sake of controlling people. And I didn't really like that because it didn't feel safe environment working. Like you could have just a small mistake and next day you'll find yourself in the manager office and get fired for nothing, which is absurd, to be honest. And I stayed there 5 years. I mean, I kept my my back to the wall. So that wasn't as good experience that I would say. I tried so many times to speak to the managers to make any impact or to change something, and then they always have the same answer. Once you climb up the ladder, you can do whatever you want. Just go up, implement your own rules and your own philosophy to the position when you have when you're a senior. And didn't click with me much, and I always clashing with the management until a point that my name was very well known. So because they saw that as a rebellion, like he doesn't want to bend by our rule or something. But I was just trying to make them to make my idea reach them and to tell them it could be better, because it's not a small company, it's huge, and we are in 100 companies that most valuable in the world. So why do we have this culture inside the company? And yeah, I couldn't reach anything at the end. So I gave up. I was just went back to be a number like any other person in the company. And I stayed there for a while. And then at the end, I was preparing to leave. But yeah, they were trying to find any way to, like any problem or anything in my file, and they to just kick me out of the company. Yeah, so it wasn't good.
Thank you for sharing, and I really can feel that, because if you are clashing with the culture, then sometimes it seems like just like not possible to work in that company anymore. Yeah? And for that reason, I think that especially when we are talking about agility in a software environment, and if we really want to change our company into a more software-oriented company and supporting the digitalization of Volkswagen Group, and that's like one for me at least like the key aspects to really to create the culture where people want to work in. And it doesn't matter if they're software developer, engineers, or like finance guys, but I think culture is this kind of little topic who's sharing or who's kind of reuniting us. And I think that's really important to know, because the whole topic of different implementation tools or frameworks, it's kind of easy to learn, but to really to implement it, it needs a strong culture, starting from your own culture, your own values you're sharing with the team, and then also to this kind of scaled approaches where teams working together in programs or projects or whatever. So thanks a lot for sharing that example. Are there any other examples in the room, or someone else who wants to share his experience or her experiences?
Yes, I would like to. So when I came to Germany, so I was working with this student organization called ISAC. I don't know if you know, it's like voluntary organization, because I love to volunteer a lot. And they had a like really good culture. Like first best thing I learned from that culture is like giving feedbacks each other, whatever you do. And that's how I learned how to take feedbacks and give feedbacks, not like a really proper way, not like you attacking the other person, and also how to take a feedback in a more positive way. So I really loved it. Like that culture actually shaped me a lot, who I am right now. And also another culture was that like we used to write good things to each other every day. And because it's for a foreigner, it's really hard to live in Germany at times. But I think till now I have a really good time because of the culture I shared with the people I met there from different cultures, different countries. I think a really positive culture actually can bring you the best out of you.
You're completely right. I agree 100%. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
Anyone else, also in the chat or in the Zoom meeting?
Yes, I would say for me, the company culture there was at Peugeot Citroën when I was working there. I would say some of it transpired from the people of the department I worked inside. So one day I changed department, I arrived in a new team, we had a technical issue, and I say, okay, I propose a new solution, but I was told, Monin, it's never going to work. We never done that before. And so I did keep on with my ideas, and it actually worked. But it shows that the culture of a group of people can really influence some other colleagues. And when I worked at Jaguar Land Rover, there was, I think, a very strong company culture that was coming from, I think, the HR department, where during the induction and the HR document from the company, they really emphasized that people should work together. That is to say, okay, if a colleague needs help, then if you can help, you should help them. because you don't know, one day you might need their help in return. And since, okay, you already has established this relationship, the day you will need them, they would support you 100%. And I think as a company culture, that was very good, because I didn't see that in my previous company. So yeah, I think in a big company or medium company, there are many different ways people can, we have many different ways, solutions to have a better company culture, whether it's at the individual level or whether we have some good guidelines. And I would say at 42 Wolfsburg, it's probably one of the best, it's not a company, it's a school, of course, but I often say that what attracts to me the most in studying at 42 Wolfsburg is really the people, to be honest.
Wow, I love it. What a compliment. Really cool. And with that, I also would like to share with you my 3, or at least like 3+ bonus top learnings regarding implementing or like really pushing a transformation, implementing new culture, and implementing also new ways of working, for example, agility in a really corporate world. And as I said, I started at Volkswagen, then I joined Audi for a couple of months. After that, I was part of the SEAT company. And for me as a German, a completely different culture. I didn't expect that, to be honest. When I started 2019 in SEAT, I was like, okay, I'm feeling more like a European. And that was like also my mindset. I started there, but I had to learn. I mean, I know if you know, but there where SEAT is located in Martorell, that's in the center of Catalonia. And Catalonia even has a very special culture within the Spanish environment. And for me, it was kind of really interesting to understand that even, I mean, that's a Spanish guys, and I think there's like a colleague of you in the audience. She's also Spanish, and she can relate what I'm explaining right now. Even when you think we are living on the same continent, like Europa, you really can feel there are different cultural aspects, and this is what I've learned. And after 3 years of Spanish experience, I can say I'm more German than I expected, but I also learned to adapt my German attitude to a more Spanish or more European culture. And this is really what I've loved and learned and liked when you have the possibility and the chance to live and to work abroad. But yeah, one of the most important things, especially when you're just like leaving your comfort zone, traveling abroad, working in a different environment. And I mean, in Martorell, in SEAT, we are living in a 4-language environment. That means, of course, there are people who can talk or like speak German, because at the end it's a Spanish company, SEAT, but with a strong German influence. Then you have English. That's like the language it's like the language that more or less everyone can talk, at least a bit. Then you have Castellano, like Spanish, and you have Catalan. That means every day when I just entered my office office environment, I've heard at least 3 to 4 different languages all the time. Yeah, and as you probably know, when you're talking in different languages, like one of the most important things that happen is that you really learn to understand each other, and even to understand what it means when you have like differences and so on. And it was like interesting. And what I really kind of experienced over there, that you need a high level of problem positivity, because when you're really starting to focusing on your problem and trying to analyze it, then you're starting to understand the solution. That was what even Steve Jobs kind of, I'm quoting Steve Jobs here, because that's like one thing in a corporate environment, that many people, because they just like used to work for such a long time in their environment, that they do not take the time to analyze a problem and really to identify even different solutions and to kind of experience the best one for the problem. And I think especially in the agile environment, sometimes it's just about to understand the problem and then find the solution. It's so easy at the end, yeah, because you're not using agility because everyone is using it, but you're using agility because it gives you tools and also the mindset to go with a very open view on the different problems you have, especially when you're working in a software related environment, and just trying to find the solution, not by your own, but also with the team. And I think that's really important also when I'm talking about building bridges, that this kind of mindset is transferred to the rest of the department and stakeholders you're working with, because at the end, when I'm just like looking into my day-by-day work, it's always about getting into the flow, like creating value for the company, and of course, finding smart solutions for problems I'm trying to solve, or at least for problems I'm trying to solve for the customers or for my stakeholders. Yeah. And another very interesting fact is the term HIPPO. HIPPO means, that's like related to the hierarchy within Volkswagen Group, the highest paid person's opinion. That means it's related to the failure culture, for example, yeah? Because when you're really in a room full of people, and very often the opinion of the manager counts. But I mean, at the end, the idea of, even especially in an agile world, is not that the manager is the expert for everything, but that the whole team is like a bunch of experts, and that the opinion and the experience of the team is the most important thing and not the hierarchy. And for that reason, that's also like something I experienced when implementing like new culture transformation, that also the managers, they have to understand that that's about like really like knowledge and experts, and not about management. Yeah. And another point I've just learned over there is that when we are talking about changing things, then that we are talking about the team, and that especially managers also part of the team, and that the responsibility in finding solutions, also implementing them, cannot be transferred, because sometimes it's just not your problem in the team. And that's really a strong mindset topic, that if you discover the problem you cannot solve, then that should be your first priority, to find someone who can help to solve it. And especially in the agile world, the manager should be this person who can help you, like a servant leader, to find a solution for a problem you cannot solve. And that helps a lot of times, especially when you're diving into a new team who's not really aware of agility, to make clear what is your role, what is your responsibility, and what not. And that is also related, where you have the possibility, which kind of problems you can solve and which not. And that was like really kind of eye-opening for me, that when you have a very positive attitude regarding problems, especially not only like this kind of, let's say, software bug problems, but really also like emotional problems, or like intercultural problems, and you're really pushing the idea to find a solution, a common solution, you really can create this kind of open environment and atmosphere, and it makes things so much easier, because then you're starting to share also like the mindset, and the same mindset, also the same kind of values. A second topic, what I've learned, especially in the corporate world, is the idea of learn, adapt, share. That means, as every one of you knows, that you have like a very strict plan, and it doesn't matter if it's related to a product you're creating, or is it like the kind, I do not know, like to implement something within your team or within the company, that you have like kind of a vision, like a plan in your mind, but the reality is like completely different. Yeah. And then, like, maybe I can just say like a little story with you. When I started in SEAT, we've built up this team who was not very experienced in adapting to Agile framework, or like helping people to learn how to use Kanban boards or Scrum, for example. Yeah, and also the whole topic of Jira, like really tech tools to implement like a software development flow wasn't adapted into the shared world. And what we did at the beginning, starting on a very, very low level, because what we could do is to help people, or like teams, to create workshops that they understand where they are, what kind of roles they have, and what kind of mission they have within the company. Because sometimes we just entered the team, for example, a finance team, yeah, because it was at the end not a team, it was just like a box where different people used to work together because they belonging to the same box. And we started there with kind of a workshop with a lot of post-its, I can remember, and starting to ask them the question like, okay, what is your mission within the company? How you can add value to the company as a team? Where are your roles? Where are your responsibilities? And what is your plan to improve and to create really value for the company? At the beginning, they even couldn't answer this kind of very, very easy questions. And that was kind of also a bit like strange, but I've learned that the corporate culture is working like that, that you have the boxes, as I said at the beginning, and then they just like there without any interconnection with other boxes. And then that's the part where you start to break up the system at the end. Because what we said is, okay, just imagine when you have a mission and a vision and you're really clear about how you want to add value as a team to the company, then it doesn't matter if you're sharing the same box. The important thing is that you're sharing the same mission, the same plan. And then the next step was how to follow that kind of plan. And there, like the Agile toolbox helps you a lot, because I mean, you have 1,000 different things to do, but we started really, really small. For example, just to implement dailies as an example, yeah, we motivated the people and even helped them to just invite them, yeah, the very easy steps to have like 15 minutes every day to talk about their responsibilities, their day-to-day tasks, and also their strategic approaches, but they sometimes, of course, have to share. And then as they understand that it helps a lot to share this kind of easy things, to have like a lot of transparency in their day-to-day work, we started to implement things like a planning every 2 weeks, for example. Yeah. Then what we did is also to create kind of a Kanban board with the help of teams. Just have the idea as a group of people, as a team within the finance department, that they understand they have very similar tasks and that they even can find efficiencies within their tasks. And then what we did, we implemented a reto at the end. We really kind of helped them to understand the Scrum flow, but without talking about Scrum. And this is what I mean. It's super important that you give people the chance to start where they are right now, because many of them even have no idea about what is Scrum, what is Kanban, what is whatever, but you really take them where they are and then helping them to adapt the different frameworks we have, and then giving them also the possibility to share their experience, because people just want to talk about things that are super positive, yeah, and they just want to share their highlights within the teams. And that was really crazy, because we started with only one team, and then different people just approached us as a team if we can help them as well, yeah. And this is maybe also the question from the beginning. We didn't, especially in SEAT, we didn't implement from the scratch like a super sophisticated safe approach, for example, but we started like super low and gave people, teams, and show the whole company the chance that we are picking them up where they are and helping them to develop themselves. It's kind of enabling and also kind of shaping the culture within the small units of teams, and then really watching how it's scaling. And that was like super cool to watch. And another thing what we've learned is that, of course, you can learn a lot by theory, but at the end you need experiences, even especially when we are talking about adapting a culture and like learning in a new way of collaboration mode. I mean, I even can explain in detail how we did it and what we did exactly, but at the end you have to start. It does not have any sense just to talk about, but you really have to experience, because culture is vivid and you have to live it and to learn from it. And you need just like people who really want to implement it. My third learning is you have to understand the system, because you cannot expect that when you are using a Kanban board, for example, or a Jira for your user stories on epics, that everything is going to change. You need to understand that you are living and acting in a very special system. And Volkswagen is different in comparison to Peugeot, for example, or different in comparison to BMW, even if they are also like car manufacturers. And this is like super important for everyone who's joining a corporate company. You should not try to change everything from the first minute, but really to understand how the system is working. Because when you understand where you are, where you're starting, on which kind of, let's say, level, then it's a bit easier for you to identify the little tiny steps where you could change things, especially when we are talking about culture, because culture you cannot explain in many cases, but you have to experience it, and you have and in very often cases, we are just the starting point. And culture cannot be delegated. That's also super important, because at the end, you are one human being in the whole system, and you can change a lot if you know how it works. And also, especially in Volkswagen, we have like a very interesting politics behind the system. There are a lot of human interactions. There are a lot of history within the department. There's even a lot of history within people. That means that even, for example, parents of one guy, they've been in the same school like parents from another guy. And because of this connection, they're kind of getting promoted, as an example. Yeah, it's super weird, but you have to understand this kind of thing behind, and also how humans kind of ticking if you want to change or transform something. And I really can recommend the book of Lalou, Reinventing Organizations, because it really helps to understand that you have to start wherever you are to understand the system, as I said, and really from that starting point with a little tiny step to change something. And another really important point for me is, I mean, on the operational level, a lot of teams are super motivated and also keen to learn and to use different tools. But at the end, management are part of the system. They are on the top of the boxes at the end, and they have the power in the system to change things. And that's quite interesting. If you have a management who's really different from the cultural approach and really wants to change something, then it's much more easier to change things at the end. Yeah, and I think that's also super important for you, even when you say, okay, I'm on the engineering level, I really want to interact on the operational level, but you need to know that management is influencing the culture a lot. And even if you have the ambition to enter the management level somewhere in our company, keep that in mind, that you are shaping the culture a lot. That's one of your responsibilities as a manager, because you're kind of responsible, because how you act and what kind of attitude you have, you are changing and you're shaping a lot. And last but not least, is kind of a bonus for me. You need people who are sharing the same culture, the same values like you. Because this kind of little small group of people can just change and transform a lot. Especially when we are talking about supporting agile transformation, it helps a lot if you have like a centralized team whose responsibility is just to help other teams to understand their roads, their flow, their collaboration flow, and helping them to learn in a different way how you could also work together without like following the strict hierarchy. And this is at the end what we did in Volkswagen, in Audi, and also in SEAT, that we have this kind of bunch of people who are really strong in their knowledge about methodology, about agility, about SAFe, Scrum, whatever. But the huge advantage they are sharing is that they are not part of the team, because they are helping different teams, and it doesn't matter if these are software teams or finance teams, but they really dive into it because of their knowledge and their experiences. They know how they can shape the collaboration flow, and with that also the value and responsibility ideas. but they are not part of the team. And that helps a lot, because when you're not part of the team, especially when you want to change something, then you're also not part of the problem. And this is what I've tried to explain before. When you really understand the problem and trying to help to solve the problem, then it helps a lot when you're not part of the problem, because it's also like a superhuman thing that when you're involved emotionally, then it's sometimes super hard to find a solution. And for that reason, I really can say, if you are in a company or someone even responsible for a company, keep that in mind, that if you have this kind of small bunch of people who really want to change and they have the right mindset and the right competence to do so, keep them as an ecosystem, because they help you a lot to change and to shape your culture. And for that also to help to be more flexible, more agile, faster and more efficient, because these are all the advantages you get when you are building a strong culture within the company. And that's also at the end the transformation we are doing, yeah. And also the interesting thing is, especially in the social media world we are living in right now, these kind of people, they have the superpower to identify the right people into the teams, and create followers who are kind of joining the same mindset and helping people really to change things, to think differently, and also to transform their own team. And when you kind of have this like little MVP and have a few teams who are really thinking differently, you can kind of watch how it's kind of a virus, how it's spreading into the rest of the department and even into the rest of the company. And that's like the point how transformation is running, yeah. It's super, I mean, you need the management support without any question, but at the end, it's about the teams and the people who are changing and thinking differently and acting differently. And then you can see how it's spreading. And that was one of the results I've experienced in SEAT. At a certain point, after 2.5 years maybe, it was crazy how many people asked this little team I was responsible for to help them to change something. And then we really could feel that other people, they took over the responsibility to be kind of a cultural influencer and keeping that mindset and bring it into their teams. And that was kind of the starting point where I could say, okay, it felt like that we started the transformation, like kind of a cultural transformation, and with that also this kind of agile transformation. And learning how to do, how to scale, how to use Kanban, how to use Scrum, how to pair programming, how to whatever, yeah. That's like the second step from my point of view. The most important thing is really to start with the culture and start within the team, and you as a person always like the starting point for you. And that is what I just want to share with you. You can just read it by your own. That was the vision of the team I tried to explain. We really thought we are the driver of the transformation because we are focusing on problems on operational level. And for that, we are creating the value for our customers, for the company, for the team. Because we think when you are able to solve problems in a more agile way with a strong mindset and with a strong set of values, you really can change something. And at the end, that's about, yeah, really to start to change something and create an atmosphere where people really want to live in, to work in. And even if there are any problems or challenges, as a team, it's always easier to solve them. Yeah, and this is what I wanted to share with you. And as I said before, if you are interested in more details regarding what we did, how we did things, and how we did it really on a tool level, or how we started to scale safe, for example, within SEAT and right now in Audi as well, please just approach, contact me, and we can have a coffee talk, and I can give you some more insights on that.